Um, but I guess we could go ahead and get started. It's 4:03. So welcome everybody. I am not running this training at all. This is not our show. But I did want to take a minute at the top. I think the last time we were all, that I was able to join and everybody was on, it was right before the election. I know there's been, some big wins across the country, and recovery advocates and all of you who have been involved in the work in your states and nationally should be incredibly proud of yourself. I think, the historic turnout really demonstrated the power of a lot of your work. It took a lot. I know we saw here in our home state of Nevada, just record numbers, close to an 80% turnout, and more people engaged than we've had before around vote recovery. And really advocating and educating candidates and policymakers. So we will be having an annual report that'll be coming out at the beginning of the year that we'll distribute to everyone that you'll be able to utilize. And I know some of you in certain states have been contacted about having possible case studies in that report. I would encourage you, if you have any interesting stories or things that you would like to have possibly included in the report, to please send that to Aaron at recoveryvoices.com. I also want to say that, this year has felt like work. And it has been a really difficult year for, I think, pretty much everybody on this call. You should have got an email from Garrett today where we've been trying, in a normal year, we'd be able to all get together and have some sort of a team building activity or something to do to celebrate at least the community that we've been able to build and sustain together. Absent of being able to do that in person, we are going to have a full event, I guess you could say, on January 2nd. Garrett sent a little Google survey. You just need to respond if that would work for you, because the way it's being set up is based on the amount of attendees who can come. It's going to be a virtual game night. We're not going to talk about, we'll probably talk plenty about recovery, but we're not going to talk about recovery advocacy. This is going to be more about having some fun, enjoying each other's company as we start the new year. I've been able to see what some of these other virtual game nights are like, and it's pretty cool. We're all in like this virtual living room together and broken up into teams and have all these activities. I'd encourage as many of you as possible to join. It should be a lot of fun. Just respond to that email that Garrett sent out. And thank you for showing up tonight. This is an important session and important training for the work that we will all collectively be doing together in 2021. We got a lot on the plate for the new year. I'm looking forward to it. I'm going to pass this off to Aaron. And until we talk again, which hopefully I'll see many of you on January 2nd, stay safe, stay connected, have a great holiday, and let's make the best of the time we have together. Aaron, off to you.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. It's good to see your faces. Great to see you. My name's Aaron Kacharski, and a year ago today, on December 10th, 2019, we had our first Recovery Advocacy Project orientation. And so exactly a year later, we've done 13 of these national trainings. And the one today, I think, is going to be really important. And one thing before we get started, I want to mention, just to make sure everybody was aware, there's a closed captioning option. You should see a closed captioning option on the bottom of your Zoom if you need that. That was one of the things that in conversations with folks from the Inclusion Caucus, we could say closed captioning is brought to you by the Inclusion Caucus, who is actually helping to run the conversations and the workshop tonight. I'm only going to take a minute. We're talking about building these organizing state teams. Applications will be open till January 15th. And one of the things that we've really talked about, making sure that as a movement, recovery advocacy movement, making sure that it's as inclusive welcoming, diverse, like that end goal, right? Building up towards that, working together. And I wanted to share personally that, in my conversations with a number of people from the inclusivity caucus, um, that it's my understanding around inclusivity and practice and language, has is has improved tremendously, and it's through these conversations and through this understanding, and that we can create a better learning collaborative for all of us. And as a, whether so you're, if you're here as a RAP staff member, there's things that we can do better towards that goal. If you are here on a volunteer level, these state organizing teams in 2021, there's things that we can all do better. And I think that's some of the conversations that we're doing in some breakout groups are going to be able to foster that conversation there. And so whether you've been with us in these trainings since 2019, exactly a year ago, or you're kind of in and out of the trainings, what we do is we work to record as many of these as possible. And that can be found on the YouTube channel for Recovery Advocacy Project. Some of the ones that have breakout groups, they're a little harder to do video recordings of it. And so it's important that we promote attendance in these trainings as much as possible. I kept it to about a minute or two, and I'm really happy that the Inclusion Caucus is going to lead us through the last training of the year. And I will turn things over to Carol Cruz. Good to see everybody. Look at Carol.
Merry Christmas. Happy Hanukkah. Making sure Kwanzaa, all of the wonderful holidays that we're looking forward to getting through here in 2020 and 2021. So welcome everyone. I am so happy. As you can see, wait a minute. Holy shit. You guys are not dressed for the party. Am I the only one that is in a onesie? Come on, Ryan, there it is. Shine bright, shine bright. Oh my God, I can't believe I am the only one that showed up to this fabulous event of the year that's dressed up. Not fair. And I have to take me off of this one screen because I want to see all your wonderful faces, because I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for all of you. I really want to just let you all know, those, even though you're not part of the Inclusivity Caucus, you are part of RAP and Mobilize, and I am just so excited for you all to be here. So tonight it was myself as a co-facilitator of the Inclusivity Caucus, Anna Mall Ripley, and also Joseph Green. Joseph Green won't be joining us this evening, but I ask that you all keep his son in your prayers. He hasn't been feeling well for the last 3 days, and as you all know, he has this beautiful toddler, and so he's had to take care of him. And so he will not be presenting with us tonight, but it will be Anna and I. And really, we want to get you all excited about creating these organizing teams in your state, but also be there as a support hub network through the Inclusivity Caucus, and making sure that we are including all folks in all pathways. And we also having the appropriate language and education and knowledge, and what we don't know, but we're going to learn. We're going to learn together. As my mentor, Art Woodard, would always say, we're all learners, doers, and teachers. So we get an opportunity to learn some things tonight, maybe that we don't know, and we get to teach it out to others. We get to do it out in our communities, and we get to do it, and we get to teach it to others going forward. So We will be breaking out into breakout groups, and we have some pre-questions to have, get into that think tank, so get yourself ready. We're going to get in some juicy thinking sessions. But before we do that, I just wanted to go over some of the things in my story of where labels at first, didn't mean a whole lot to me until I got into recovery. And when I say about that, the labels that hurt me in my early recovery was the label of that addict mother. Here we go. We've got another one. And when I went into labor and gave birth to my son, I didn't feel that there were folks that understood where I was coming from. So some of us that have taken like Recovery Coach Academy and peer support services, we've learned that changing language from addict to person with substance use disorder, it can change a whole person's perspective on where they're at in their recovery, because we're meeting them where they're at, and we're removing some of those stigma and labels and barriers for them to get into or to get on the road or pathway to their recovery. But some of the other labels that I experienced growing up were half-breed, mixed, interracial. And those, again, I carry those like I'm carrying this wonderful onesie that's extremely hot right now because I'm nervous. But I wore those labels as a protection because that's what I was conditioned to believe. I was conditioned to believe that those labels fit who I was and my identity. So as we're looking at working with folks in our community and working with communities and on a local level, on a state level, on a national level, we want to make sure that we're putting people first. We want to make sure that we're putting people first, because putting people first is not making that assumption and identifying that person as who they look like. They may look like one way, but our assumption or our perception of them might be very different. So, for an example, a blind woman, if we say a blind woman rather than using a woman who is blind, something as simple as moving around some words there. And again, with the Inclusivity Caucus, we're not just looking with people with substance use disorder, we're also diving into working with folks, and not just LGBTQ and BIPOC, but we're also looking at folks with disabilities, right? People that are experiencing disabilities or living with disabilities. The other thing that I wanted to look at the principles of that we want to remember as we're looking at being inclusive and how we're building inclusivity into who's at the table. And some of that is going to be in the questionings that you're going to go into in your breakout session. And if those folks aren't at the table, how do we get them at the table? How do we get those folks at the table in our communities? So we also just want to be very open-minded and understanding on the impact of mental health language. We also want to make sure that we're not identifying people just by how they're described. We want to look at things and universal language as far as, if we have an expression that folks here in the United States use, like hitting it out of the park. Someone might take that statement as totally different if they're from another country, or they're just not used to hearing that language. They may think that you're saying something negative versus, I believe in you, or if we say to someone, pull yourself together, man. We're actually saying, how can I best help you? Or how can I help you in this situation? So we all have not only look at language, we want to look at how we express ourselves So we're inviting and we're creating these safe spaces. That was the one of the initiatives for the Inclusivity Caucus. And the reason why I didn't start off by giving our statement is because the Inclusivity Caucus is looking at working and developing the statement so that it, and we're also in advisory and working with RAP in the language that's used on the website and going forward, so that it is creating these safe spaces for people to come and say, yes, I see myself in this. You know, for me, I didn't see myself in a lot of areas in recovery. And as we're building these organizing teams in our state, we want to make sure that we're doing that. We're doing that not only in our how we address folks, but we are also doing that in understanding our language. So we're into next year, we are going to have a training around language, around gender pronouns, around different groups, and we'll talk about social injustice and how we can reach more marginalized communities, and how we can create these safe spaces. I'm sorry. We also want to go in with a growth mindset. I don't know what I don't know. So if I continue to keep my mind open, be open-minded to, that's why we get together. It's not just my thinking. It's not just Erin's thinking or Garrett or Jesse or anyone else on this training. It is us collaboratively working together. I see where making the shift in creating these organizing teams is going to be have a huge impact on our states, because we're going to go in, we know it didn't work in last year. And so we're going to go in learning and doing things that will work. And again, we're kind of navigating our way through COVID, the epidemic still, you know, and everything else. So yeah, everybody's saying, oh, I can't wait till 2020 is over. Well, I say, put your seatbelt on, because 2021, you got to get to work. We got a lot of work to do. And it's so great that right now we have 48 people on this call, but we're going to grow bigger. We're going to go bigger and stronger. And then, you know, the last thing is that I just wanted to point out in my part of my presentation was, you know, if we don't know, ask. Well, Carol, how do I ask somebody? You know, how do I ask somebody? Well, you know, if you're not sure how to address them or how they would want to be addressed, ask. You know, I think a lot of us are ashamed of being vulnerable. Like, I'm extremely vulnerable. Like, I do trainings all the time around with peers, but this is intimidating. This and be in front of all of you is very intimidating. And I say that wholeheartedly and honestly, because it for us to say, you know, I don't have this information, or I need more information, or I need more support. We all need that, especially now. We all need that. And so don't feel like someone is looking at you negatively. And if they are, shame on them. And I have other words, but I'm not going to say that. But shame on them. You know, you don't need them in your life. What I say is that reach out and let people know that you don't know, and that you want more, you're curious and you want more information. And I guarantee you're going to see a shift and change in your leadership. You're going to see a change in how the community works together. Because this whole hierarchy and I know what I know, you know, we're done with that. You know, a lot of us have become vulnerable under these tragic and stressful situations. So just remember that we're here at RAP, we're here at Inclusivity Caucus, and we want to build stronger organizing teams going into the new year. So you're going to see some changes on the website. You're going to see some changes in even how we're not here to police you, but we're here to support you. You know, so just keep that in mind as you're building your organizing teams. And whatever information you do not have, please, please, please do not hesitate to reach out to any one of us in IC and RAP, because we're here to support you in building these teams. Because when you're successful in your state, we're successful as a group, as a whole, as a nation, and we can reach so many more people by that. So that's me and my soapbox. And I see Anna Mall has joined us, and she's got a roaring fire. Yay!
Hey there. And I apologize for missing the earlier bit, but you know, I had to take those dogs to the kennel. You'll thank me later. I'm thanking me now. Anyway, as far as the inclusivity and all that, y'all might be wondering, you know, like, because let's face it, I look like a white lady, and you know, you might be wondering why I'm a part of this discussion and all. And so let's just start over. Hi, my name is Anna Mall Ripley. My pronouns are she and they, and I am a person living with invisible disabilities, and I'm enjoying a life in secular recovery. I'm a harm reduction pathways trainer, and I believe naloxone saves lives. Now that's better, right? You know a little bit more about me and where I'm coming from, but you also might have some assumptions. Still, that's fair. We're growing. We're all growing. Now, at one point, at least some of how I identify myself was more visible. In early recovery, I required the use of a wheelchair to get around. And then I utilized a cane to facilitate my movement. Now, while some folks say they have difficulty getting to a meeting, I don't think it's as literal as what I was facing with. You know, I was met with the very real challenges of inaccessible meeting spaces like rooms in church basements that only had stair access, and lack of automated doors that, you know, these heavy doors that I just couldn't open to get into these spaces. I had extremely limited options if I was going to choose to stay in an in-house treatment facility or sober living because of my lack of insurance. And I'd be remiss if I didn't take a moment to thank the pandemic for allowing us all to meet virtually in this platform instead of the same physical space, because people with disabilities have been fighting for this for years, decades even. Thanks, Rona. So anyway, I ended up opting because of my limited options available to me, because there weren't facilities with ramps, there weren't places that would, you know, I just couldn't access these facilities. I ended up for the riskier option of white knuckling it at home, because in these recovery spaces, they would require me to stop taking medication that was necessary for my physical and mental well-being. And let's add that I would be forced to live in a women's facility and adhere to programs that were almost exclusively faith-based, disregarding my personal identity, my identity as a non-binary individual, and having an absence of theism. Conceding to these requirements of those spaces was a far stretch from the slogan heard around the rooms you might be familiar with, "To thine own self be true," right? And so to my own self being true, I ended up having to take a riskier way on my path to recovery. And it was unfortunate, but I'm glad I made it this far. Now, I know that's a lot to unpack, and it's okay. So how about we focus, rewind a bit, on just one of those important things for right now. And I'm going to be talking about the pronouns specifically. Like any of the information I've shared about my identity, pronouns are voluntary. They're not mandatory. If a person doesn't share their pronouns, I will simply use their name to identify them. I'm not here to out anyone. And I recognize that pronoun introductions can be uncomfortable for people who are still figuring out their gender identity. It's up to each person to decide how and when they feel safe enough and choose to share a part of their identity with others. And that's okay. Still, we need to normalize this instead of only asking for pronouns when a person who is more obviously non-gender conforming enters the room, because that is just not inclusive. So here are some questions that you can ask someone to help identify the pronouns. And note, I say pronouns instead of preferred pronouns, because preference is like desiring ketchup instead of mayo on a sandwich. Pronouns are intrinsic to one's own identity, and so it's not a choice, although it is a choice, like I said, from when they volunteer to share that. So one of the questions could be, my name is Anna Mall, and my pronouns are she and they. What about you? Or which pronouns do you use? Or how would you like me to refer to you? Or how would you like to be addressed? Or could you please remind me which pronouns you like for yourself? Now, I offer you each the opportunity to take a moment, if you haven't already, to add your pronouns to your screen name by choosing the rename button feature under participants icon, and you can hover over your name and select more. It's totally optional, and as I've said before, I'll simply refer to you by your screen name otherwise, and later you can even add this if you want. A lot of businesses are using it on cards, on the end of email signatures. It's an organizational change that is rather necessary. And I will add, because I did get this question more than once this week when I was discussing this with friends, that if I identify as a woman and I was born a woman and my pronouns are she and her and hers, why do I need to even bother saying that? And my answer to this is because it's not anything more than an assumption from somebody else, because we are just not a species of mind readers, and assuming somebody's gender identity is like me walking up to you and assuming your name is Charles, and you look like a Charles to me, so I'm going to just call you Charles. It's not okay. You have your own name, and if there are any Charleses in the room, hi, sorry for the, but you know, we can't just choose what people are for themselves, because we need to, especially in the recovery movement, provide agency for each individual to be that power in the movement to facilitate the change necessary, so there's not disparity in care, and so we can just empower each other and lift each other up, and make sure that we're advocating, you know, for everyone. Also, you know, why does it matter? What's the big deal? Right? I got that a few times. Well, when we provide a welcoming space for people to provide, to people to have voluntarily express their unique challenges during their recovery, it helps us all to develop stronger foundations from which to grow and advocate. We can better recognize and honor the needs of the recovery community as a whole. And gosh darn it, you know, I'm advocating for all of you here, and the people that haven't yet made it to the table, the people that aren't here to join in tonight. And it would just be amazing and great to feel included, you know, in this part as well. So thank you. I'm gonna pass it back to whoever else.
Anna, thank you so much. This is why I'm so excited about being on this pathway with Anna and with Joseph. And again, sorry that Joseph wasn't able to make it tonight. He would have closed us out with some great spoken word and also his presentation. We are going to get now ready to go into our breakouts. And Garrett or Aaron, are you able to re-put in those questions that we want to prepare all the folks for?
Aaron, can you do the questions? And I have the rooms ready whenever Carol gives me the cue.
I just put them in the chat box there, and then I'll send them after people break up into their breakout rooms. I'll send the chats, and I'll send the questions
again in the chat. Perfect. So in our break rooms, we're going to be in there for about 20 minutes. There's folks from the Inclusivity Caucus. We're all going to be facilitators, myself, Anna. If you just raise your hand, Anna Jones, right? Jan Jones is here. Jesse's here. Do we have Eddie?
Eddie's here.
Eddie's here. And T. Scott.
T's not here. We have Anna Maria, you, Anna Jones, Jesse, and Eddie.
Perfect.
And Anna Mall.
Perfect. Awesome. So we're going to be facilitating each of one of your groups around these questions. We want to really dive in and have a great discussion. And then we're going to report back in the last probably 15, 20 minutes of tonight's presentation. We'll come back after that 20 minutes of conversation, and we'll break out in just reporting back. All right. So I'm really excited. Again, I'm really excited to be co-chairing with Anna and Joseph, because we all uniquely have our own areas and expertise. I call them the advocates, the big A advocates and activists. And I'm learning so much from both of them. So I really appreciate them being on board and helping us build the Inclusivity Caucus. So here we go. You can put us in the room, join your room.
Garrett, there is a way.
I could broadcast the message to everybody. I just wanted to make sure that everyone got to where they're going.
You all should see something pop up on your screen that says to join a breakout room. Eddie, do you see a pop up there? Hi. And Sarah, I don't know if Sarah's at her computer.
Okay.
Sarah's going to come back and yell. Where did everybody else go?
And the questions that I have are. Should be a few more seconds, everyone. The groups are all closing.
Awesome. Everybody's getting kicked back. I hope that was a good experience for everyone. We talked a lot. I've got a lot to do. We're going to go down. Garrett, first I saw all the group rooms and who was in them, but now I don't. So
I could call out the names of the facilitators in each group, and they could let us know who was their note taker or speaker.
Perfect. So we'll start off with breakout room 1.
So that Jesse, if you could, or Jesse's group, who's in Jesse's group, could come off mute and let everyone know what's up.
That would be April.
Hi there. So I just took some notes. I don't know how detailed because I'm going first, so I don't know, but a lot of the talk was initially about building and some questions about like how to reach out to diverse populations. And then some of the comments was talking about, well, Chris had said, until you see yourself represented, you're not going to get treatment. That we were talking about why it's so important to build some diversity. And then he also said, when you're not consciously including people, you're actively excluding people. And I thought that made a lot of sense. And then Jesse was saying, when you're reaching out, you are you can't make assumptions like, do you even know if people want to be involved? And if you're expecting them, hey, come to our group and participate in our space, and instead of just expecting that to work that way, to reach out and be part of other people's spaces and take that time to build relationships. And Bev at the end said, I thought was important. She said, you don't know what you don't know until you reach out and take that time to learn about other people's situations and perspectives.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Group 1 and April. And anyone else from your group just wanted to add anything before we move on to the next group? Excellent. How about breakout room 2, Garrett?
I might. Okay, good.
Hey, Garrett. So we had a very interesting conversation because we did have some new people who were like, I'm just learning this. I'm just trying to get involved with rap, and they're just excited about being, which we were happy about, that they showed up. So kudos to Erica and Gayla for showing up and participating and being like, I don't know, but gave some awesome advice. So I'm going to, our note taker, let me go. She put a note here. Thank you so much, Courtney, for taking notes. So we had a lot of people from Maine. So I want to say the states that were represented. Maine was represented strongly, 3 people. Texas, Virginia, Washington, D.C., woo woo. And and then Aaron was with us, and I don't know if he's Pennsylvania or North Carolina now. I forgot which state.
South Carolina.
South Carolina, yes, was with us. Okay, so those states were represented. So needs to look at the team structure to ensure that everyone is represented on the team. So that was a real major point that we were talking about, because it's like if they're not being seen, who's going to want to get involved? So if you're coming to some place and all you're seeing is people of another culture or something, you're going to feel like you don't want to be a part of. So they were saying we need to do more of that, which, hopefully, that's what's happening, and from all parts on that. Folks, we need to look at the structure if diverse communities are not a part of the group, putting people in positions of power. So we need to do that are part of that. We need, wait a minute, Neil's coming down. We need to change the structure. Gayla and Erica stated that both are really new, and they are trying to get their feet on them, and I discussed that. Erica reach out to the homeless population. So Erica gave a good note on some of the things that they're doing to just reach out into different populations that may be marginalized, that we might not even be tapping into, which was pretty awesome. And talk with them. And then Eddie, making sure we are listening to all the communities and asking them what they think. So really putting a person in to ask them what they think. So a lot of the words like was marginalized. We need structure when it comes to that in the communities. And then reaching out was major that we talked about that. We talked about listening, really knowing what that particular, what is needed so that we can have more people at the table with us from different cultures, that want to be a part of it. And then challenge yourself to be better, to understand what I don't understand. That was something that Aaron said, and I thought that was really major. So I wanted to repeat that. And then looking at the structure and making people feel welcome. So sometimes, because people are different, you need to make sure that they know that they are welcome and they feel that as soon as they come. Because people can tell when you're not welcome or you're not feeling like you want to be there. And then feeling like some people said feeling like the space is not there for them. So, and then of course the main thing was we need to have ongoing conversations, and we need to do it from the grassroots. So that's our report. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Anna Jones. And anyone else from your group wanted to provide any other feedback? And are you still hearing scratching coming from my speaker? Okay, Yeah, I'm going to throw those out. They're gone. Whoop. New Christmas present. That's what I want for Christmas. Better earphones. Yeah. So anyone else from your group that wanted to chime in before we move on? Excellent work. Excellent work. Thank you so much. And how about breakout room 3?
That would be Anna Maria or a representative from that group.
Okay, so in our group, our discussion became pretty specific about what ways to reach out to specifically the youth. So I would like to invite either Kim or Katie from our group to speak a little bit about that.
Hey, I'm Katie. So I am from Maine, and I am up in like very rural Maine, and one of the communities that we have trouble reaching that are experiencing substance use right now is our youth. And Kim had some great ideas because our youth is receptive to getting the education, but our community is not supportive of us going in and providing that education. So Kim had a great approach, which she said to start at like the high school level and to see if people who are going into college that are like looking for volunteer opportunities and are also experienced with recovery we could go in and educate them, and then from there, if they could go educate the younger groups, such as like middle schoolers, that way you have somebody that is maybe not the same age, but that is in the education system that kind of knows what they expect, that can provide this information to them and gather some information. So I thought that was a really good idea, something I had not even thought of. And just adding on another group that I feel in general across our country is not advocated for very much are people that are on the registry. And I didn't get much feedback on that, but I got a lot of feedback on the youth, which is good because we are struggling with that up here for sure.
Thank you so much, Katie and Anna Maria. Is there anyone from your group that would like to add to your discussion? Okay, awesome. So breakout 4 was me, and of all the folks that were in our breakout group, and we had Marshall, Leanne, Tyson, who I believe had to get off the call because he had another meeting, Lynette, and Jessica and Tomasa. And we too had 2 new folks in our meeting, in our group. And that was Marshall and Tomasa. So again, kudos to you guys for y'all showing up. See, I'm learning, changing language, right? And we correct ourselves, for y'all showing up and being part of this process. So addressing the first question, we stayed on that question for quite some time. So some of the what I'm going to respond to, I was the note taker, but again, if I forget anything, please don't hesitate to correct me or chime in. So again, Marshall brought up that he's new to the recovery movement and to this process, and he's eager to learn and wants to bring his own lived experience, but also wants to be very open to this process. Leanne, who is what I called a seasoned advocate, she's awesome. And she's also a member of the IC. So, she has done a lot of work around the recovery drug courts, and where we find that there's a lot of lacking is bringing unified training and also visibility to folks of color, people of color, and other marginalized communities. The unified language was super important that she emphasized on, and us taking it seriously on how we need to bring the facts. Too many organizations are being funded, and those in marginalized communities are not. So again, if I incorrectly wrote that down, I know that Leanne will correct me. Tyson said we need to bring more research to the table, and we don't know what we don't know. And him working in recovery residencies, as well as when he goes to 12-step meetings, he sees many people that look like him as a white cisgender male. And how do we bring others into these places, safe spaces? How do we create these safe spaces? So in addressing that first question, how do we build in this infrastructure? And we may have to do some more research within his state. Again, the last Anna Jones, I give you so much credit. I did not write everybody's state down, so I do apologize for that. Lynette, I have a lot of notes on Lynette, but Lynette is not part of RAP yet. But her focus, is what we're doing right now. We're having a conversation. We weren't having these conversations 2 months ago, 3 months ago, 6 months ago. We've been forced to get uncomfortable with the uncomfortable, and showing up, yes, is not enough. That we need to put more into action. So there's too many folks that aren't being served. And through these conversations, there's where we can start building those infrastructures to meeting people where they're at. And this is where I really want to emphasize on what she did say, and I try to write it down verbatim. Just because you don't see folks doesn't mean they don't exist. Just because you don't see folks, it doesn't mean that they don't exist, because just because they're not here doesn't mean that they don't exist, and they do need our support, and they need our help, and we need to help bring them to this place. Doing the work around, and we need to also collaborate and those that are already doing the work and building inclusivity, equity and inclusion, we need to bring them to this table, regardless whether they're speaking the language about recovery. They are not very well knowledgeable and versed in inclusion, diversity, and equity. And we need to bring more of those folks to the table to help us to build this infrastructure. Jessica brought up that her team has been working on looking at SAMHSA and some areas of through Black trans groups, and inviting them to the table to strengthening the voice within her state. So I thought that was amazing. SAMHSA, if you're not familiarized, again, I don't care for their first part of their name, but Substance Abuse Mental Health Service Administration. There is a treasure trove of information on their website, and a lot of resources that are there for all of us to access. So thank you, Jessica, for bringing that up. I often forget about that. And again, Tomasa being new to this, but out in LA where things are very, very diverse and innovative, she is willing to and wants to learn more and how she can be that advocate, change agent, and helper. So that is what our group spoke about in regards to tapping into how we can change and be part of this conversation. So thanks. And how about, is there anyone from our group that needed anything to add before we move on? Wonderful. Great work, guys. Y'all, thank you. I know Anna.
Group five will be K.
Thank you.
Okay.
They on mute. She's on mute.
Okay, can you guys hear me? Okay, so I'm not a great note taker, like Anna Jones. I mean, she just went through the whole, like my brain has to catch up to everything. But what stood out to me in our group that Eddie said was that you're not organizing if you're in segregation, which means we have to be more open-minded. We have to understand different people's genders, colors, and all these different things with people suffering with substance use disorder. And also, one of the other people from the other group said something that brought a ding in my head about the high schools. The high schools really, this is something that I'm just thinking about now that I'm talking, because I heard someone else's group say about the high schools. I have a lot of connections in Pennsylvania with some high schools, so, and some organizations in PA, so I'm hoping that we can connect. I don't remember everything that everyone said in the group, so I'm hoping that someone else in the group can come back and back me from what I don't remember, because I wasn't writing as fast as I was taking everything in. But what Eddie Moore said to me really touched a nerve, and I understand that. You know, I'm not one to judge people. I don't judge any person. I think that every person deserves a fair chance to recovery and to their pathway. So if there's someone else from our group that can come in and ad lib, I would appreciate that, because my brain wasn't picking up that fast.
Thank you, Ms. K.
You're welcome. Cruising.
Anyone from Ms. K's group would like to chime in? Still have a few more minutes.
I just want to say, Ms. K, I have not had the pleasure to meet you in person yet, but I look forward to the day I get to. And so many of the individuals I get to see on here more and more, and just you just make my heart smile every time I hear your voice, and so many others. So just thank you.
Oh, that's precious.
Eddie, did you want to chime in with anything? You know, I'm always going to call you in, not call you out.
Carol, I was just saying to my group three things. One, I think the research, someone mentioned that earlier, clearly points out that when you're in diverse groups, you solve the problems better. And that's where my statement of you're not really organizing if you're in an all white or segregated space. I feel like it's time for a mandate that we should be able to say that we will not let this be considered organizing if it's segregated, if there's no real diversity present. Number two, that even though you have diversity present, that people got to still work on their competency, because sometimes you can bring diversity in. Someone mentioned the word tokenism, and people think because you have one person or two people there, that solves the diversity issues. And so I think, as we heard earlier with gender pronouns, but also issues across gender, race, I mean, we just got to keep growing, because the work and the issues are changing dramatically. Last thing is, I think white people have to be different. I think in the recovery world, they've been leading, they've been really out in front, they've been controlling the resources. And I think it's time that we ask them to be different over these next 25 years as we look at this work of inclusivity, the work of RAP, and all the things that we're talking about. So those were the 3 points that I added. And with that, I'll yield the mic to the distinguished Cruz.
Hey. Oh, thank you so much, Eddie Moore. I'm looking forward to our meeting next week. That again is going to be so fruitful. So, is there? Oh, go ahead, Animal.
Last but not least, Animal's group.
Thanks. Yeah. So we focused on we took the time to recognize, like, I posed the questions like, what are some marginalized communities that and the thing is, like, even the terms marginalized community, like, you might not know what that means, and that's okay. We're all learning new things together. We're all doing this together. So if we are, I mean, we're here to lift each other up, not like hold each other away. So if there are no, I mean, there are some stupid questions. Granted, there are some dumb questions, but it's okay. Because I mean, when I ask a dumb question, I get over the fear of it. I ask it and I learn because I'm ready to learn. I'm growing from an uncomfortable space, but I'm growing where I'm planted, if you will. You know, and they're sorry about that idiom, but you know, that don't know what you don't know. I honestly hate platitudes, and I gotta say, you know, screw that platitude, because if that's where it ends, if you don't know it, that's fine, but do the work and don't ask somebody else. Don't tokenize somebody and ask them and have that do the work for you, because if they are of some a separate culture or race or experience than yours, you are putting an emotional burden on that other person, right? And they don't need to do your work for you. That's not cool. That's the exact opposite of what we are wanting. So, you know, and there's lots of stuff out there. Thank goodness we got the internet. Yeah. Okay. So we talked about groups that we don't normally see, and the deaf community. You know, does anybody here at all put it in the chat if you know of a freaking recovery facility that is for people that are deaf? Anywhere in the nation, anywhere. I would love to see that. Now, we have some meetings here in Austin, thanks to forming an intergroup 2 years ago. That's how long it took. And we have a school for the deaf here. So, you know, we have 2 interpreters. So these people get 2 meetings a week, maybe, if the interpreter's not sick, right? That have signed interpretation. So not cool, right? Do you know a recovery facility that has wheelchair access? You know, share it with everybody. Freaking A, the chat's right there. Then you know, do you know of a recovery housing, sober living, or even better, a treatment facility that is for people that are LGBTQIA specifically, not just that will like throw somebody that identifies as trans in with everybody else, where it's not necessarily safe in early recovery, right? So, you know, if you know of those places, and I know of 2 in the freaking nation right now, specifically, and I hope that there's at least 5, put them in the chat, right? Share these resources. I know somebody that just moved from Seattle to Austin because of this, and you would think that Seattle has an inclusive area, right? It's not the case. This is why we need to come together and advocate. You know, one of the things, like when we do reach out, not tokenizing that person. I'm so glad that was brought up by other people, and that we're on this. I hope we're all on the same page with that, because if they're we talked about how if the food at the table, like, you know, we got to bring everybody to the table is what we're trying to do, right? And if they're not ready to come to the table, we have to hold that space for them. If the food at the table, what they are used to, has been traditionally poisoned, they're not going to want to be there. They need to be able to trust that space first, right? So we need to ask them instead how we can best bring their desires, what their concerns are, how we can lift their voices up without having to force them to attend or not be recognized, right? Because that's what we're doing. We're advocating. And it's not just for the individual me I'm doing this for. It's for all of us, right? And the people that aren't here, and the people that won't be here, and the people that can't be here. And it includes, how about this group? People that still use drugs, you know? Because we talked about multiple pathways, and we went around the room and mentioned the different pathways of recovery, not just 12-step, although there are a lot of different 12-step programs. And I'm so glad that they have HA now, CA, MA, CMA, yeah, all that, Gamblers Anonymous, all those things, all those 12 steps. But there's also MOAR, there's MARA, the Medically Assisted Recovery Anonymous, there's Smart Recovery. We actually had a Smart Recovery facilitator in our group, harm reduction pathways, and there's also a harm reduction works meeting. I'm a facilitator. Check out harmreduction.works on the internet. That is harmreduction.works. They're awesome. You know, let's see, Life Ring, if I know I'm forgetting some, Dharma Recovery, Refuge Recovery, split into that other one, Wellbriety, of course. If you don't know what Wellbriety is, and the Sober Squad, they're freaking awesome. There's recovery community centers. There's all recovery meetings. There's just so many out there that are either they don't include dogma or they have a different Jax was the Jewish alcoholic recovery group. Please, somebody else from my group, I know you're out there, I know you're still on, chime in, but this is what we focused on. And then just thinking about how we can go out and all that. I would also like to say, and pardon my language, Carol, but I'm going to say it. I got to say it. Fuck safe spaces. There's no such thing as a safe space unless you're at home by yourself, curled up, isolated, away from the world, in a room, underground. Might be safe. I don't know. Unless you run out of food and water or air, then it's not safe at all. What we have is brave spaces. We are coming into a brave space. We are all learning because it's scary. This is scary for me. And I'm pretty sure, it's a little unnerving for Carol as well. I can imagine, I was just like, oh my gosh, is this going to go horribly sideways? Am I going to be completely tokenized by this evening? But it's like, I also put this as a whole in front of that and said, this is something that needs to happen. This is change that needs to be recognized. This is how we need to move forward as a group, because if we don't include everybody, then what are we doing? Who are we fighting for? Then it becomes an individualized movement, and that tiny voice is not nearly as loud. And I know some really amazing advocates in these marginalized communities that have been screaming at the top of their lungs on the rooftops for decades. I want to get them here. Okay. So yeah. Does anybody else in my group want to add something else to that? And I love that some of us are starting at ground zero because there's only one way to go. And it's to grow together. I cannot wait. I cannot wait for our new year. Go for it.
I want to say something. I don't have the knowledge that y'all do in recovery. And it's hard for me because my grief is still fresh. I don't know a lot of things because I was raised in the South. It's not that we're all stupid or closed-minded. We just don't understand. We don't know. And for me, I have 2 anniversaries coming up. The guy that I was involved, both of them died of overdoses. I've never been in recovery. I don't have the knowledge. I don't know where to look for people battling addiction because I couldn't even save the one that I was involved with. So it's hard for me because I want to be the voice. I want to change Christians' mind in the South about stigma. And it's hard for me because y'all have so much knowledge that I don't. And it's so hard because everything that even in our group that she was talking about, I have no idea. I'm not in recovery, but I want to be the voice for the people that are in the South that face so much stigma. I know about disabilities. I have one. I know about stigma of depression. I battled it for so many years. But it's like, I don't have the knowledge. I couldn't save the one that I loved. I couldn't protect my aunt that was like my sister. And it's like, I want to be their voice, but I don't even have the knowledge. And it's like, I want to learn from y'all, but it's like, I truly am starting from scratch because I don't know all this stuff because I was raised in Mississippi and I live in Alabama. I don't have the knowledge that someone in a truly diverse state has. Because of the way I was raised, I want to be the voice to change Southern states, but I have to almost be taught a lot different because I don't have the knowledge that y'all do. And I feel ignorant. Even all the stuff that she was saying, I couldn't save him. And I don't know where to look for people that are battling addiction because I didn't even understand his heroin addiction. And it's so hard for me because I do want to make a difference in the South.
You know what, Tammy? And that is one of the most amazing, wonderful, important things that you are willing to share that, because I don't have that experience and your experience. And I am so sorry. I have had similar, but I have not had yours, and I am sorry about it having to be so fresh. because I I've got through that. Yeah, the grief is real, and it is hard. And your voice is really important to this movement, because we do have people that aren't the person with the substance use advocating. It's important. Your voice is really important to this movement, and you don't have to know everything. You don't. That's why we're all here as a group. We're all, we need the girlfriends, the exes, we need the parents, we need the children of, we need the cousins of, the neighbors of, we need everyone in the community to be a part of making recovery a more human and less criminal experience.
And Tammy, I want to say to you, thank you so much for just showing up. What we need from you, Tammy, is just to keep showing up and keep sharing what you feel. That's what you need to do right now. And know that we feel you. We're here for you. We see you. We've been through what you're going through. So you're in the right place. You're supposed to be here. We want you here. Keep coming, keep showing up. And we're going to get through it together. I'm going to put my number in the box too, okay? If you want to give me a call, and we'll talk and we'll grow together. All of us are growing together. That's why we're here. It's a grassroots movement. So you are in the right place. I'm so happy you're here. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm going to echo that as well, Tammy. And if anyone would like to provide some support networking for Tammy, what state are you in, Tammy?
Alabama.
All right. So we talked about in our group, it's not just about my state, it's about us nationally. This is Recovery Advocacy Project is a national, we intertwine, we intergroup with each state. We're here to support you and lift you up and help you build these foundations. So if anyone would like to provide any of that information in the chat or their personal information to Tammy, please do so at this time. Thank you so much for your transparency, your honesty, and our thoughts and prayers are with you at this time. So we've come and wrapped up the end of this, and I hope
sorry, Carol, can I just add a couple of things to that? And so, yeah, like we're all starting together at ground zero, right? And we're all growing from this point out. This whole new year, we're going to have new trainings and all that, and I'm looking forward to it. And I honestly didn't know if there was anybody else in the group that, I know we're like short on time, but if anybody else wanted to add anything else from group 6, because I know I left something out. I wanted to have that second for somebody else to chime in. Because I'm not good at note taking. I didn't take any.
Well, group 6, excellent okay. Work.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for reporting out. I don't know where I was when you chimed in, but I just wanted to echo again with Anna was saying, Animal was saying in regards to what we have to look forward to, what's next for our collaboration with Inclusivity Caucus with RAP. And we're going to be bringing trainings and orientations to help you build and create your organizing teams. We are here as a resource hub. So I will also put my information in, but a lot of you do see my name on or something on on the email, but we'll make sure that you get my information out there as well. I just want to thank you all for showing up. I hope this was helpful. It wasn't your traditional training. It was more like a holiday party meets, 2020. But it was all great information that I heard in the feedback of everybody that coming back. Before I close out with my little ending part, and we talked about who's at the table. If you notice the picture behind me, so there's a new version of The Grinch Who Stole Christmas. It's coming out tomorrow. And Pharrell Williams is the narrator. And if you notice, who's at the table at Whoville? There's people of color. Woo! Ah, yes, yes. So I gathered this picture, and yeah. So I'm going to turn it over to Aaron or Garrett if you have any added last words, and then I'm going to put on my sound and close this out with a song.
Let's just get to the song. Thank you all. Just be safe. Go ahead with the song.
All right. Let me see if I can find it. Oh, wait. Hold up. Hold up. Oh, no. Where is it? Okay. So I'm putting in the chat the words. So you can, it's a sing-along. Yes, my mother raised a very funny child. All right, there's the words, and here is the song.
Merry Christmas, everyone.
Oop.
When we started Carvana, they
Oop.
told us that selling cars 100%
Oh, no.
online wouldn't work.
Hold on.
But we went to
Gotta get
work.
past that. There we go.
Welcome Christmas, come this way. Welcome Christmas, Christmas Day. Welcome, welcome, Varamus. Welcome, welcome, Varamus. Christmas Day is in our grasp, so long as we have hands to clasp.
Ooh, I started over. I'm sorry. Well, that's about it. Thank you so much, everyone. Yeah, we have to bring a little humor to the table as well. So don't forget that, and be kind to yourself. Yeah, be safe.
Thank
Love
you,
all.
Colonel and Anima. Great facilitating.
Thank you, Anna.
Thanks, everybody.
Ripley.
Thank
Thanks,
y'all.
Anna.
Find me
Thanks,
on
Carol.
Facebook if we're not Facebook friends already. Seriously. And I've
Thank
got
you,
I've
everyone.
got resources for you, Tammy. Just reach out. I got you. I'm really glad that you were in my group tonight. I really am. Seriously. This is awesome.
Great work.